together, it's kind of that little plastic tiara that gets put onto every story to see if it fits.
Well, yeah, the problem I have with the whole idea of pedophile rings, especially in the pre-internet days, is, well, how did these guys find each other? Why would anybody, cooperate with other pedophiles? Because, that only puts you in more danger. I mean, if you're going to be a pedophile, just prowl on your own and don't, I don't really get the whole idea.
This is why we never hear about the serial killer gang.
Yeah.
Because they don't work with other people because that's much more dangerous.
Wasn't that Manson's family?
No, they were a bunch of misguided people.
That was kind of more of a cult thing.
Were they not serial killers?
Well, in a sense, but...
It's a completely different thing.
Is it?
It's a completely different thing.
I think when you're... I think...
They're acting...
I think, because
let's not run down the road.
You don't want to run down that?
Fair enough.
But as I was saying, this original dossier I mentioned was compiled by a member of Parliament, as I said, George Dickens. Dickens himself was not murdered. He died in 1995 at age 64. And you would think if the pedophile ring had wanted to murder anybody, it would have been George Dickens and not Willie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also about...
They would have been...
That's a good point, too. Yeah, and also according to a few Scottish Redditors that I've seen out there, the pedophile story it's just a new thing that's been tacked on.
Oh, of course.
I figure if you're on Reddit,
I told you,
Scottish,
it's the tiara they set on every story to see if it fits.
Yeah. So, if you're on Reddit and you're Scottish, you know all about this story, I'm sure. Well, let's move on to our next possible suspects here, which is drug smugglers. Willie had an old friend named Michael Strathern who said in an interview there was a special that was done on Scottish Eye, which is, I don't know if Scottish Eye is still on TV or not. Yeah, so he appeared on Scottish Eye and he said that he believed that it might have been drug smugglers because apparently the west coast of Scotland is kind of a key drug route into Britain, and if you don't believe me, take a look at a map. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
There's cocaine all over the map.
Yeah, I know. It's all this powdery white stuff everywhere.
Map.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was snow. I thought it was a winter photo.
Yeah, the cocaine seems more popular at the north end of the world rather than at the equator. I don't get it. But no, I mean, there's so much coastline and there's so many fjords and all that stuff, and so I could see that. And of course, that's where his vacation home was towards the west coast of Scotland, and apparently he'd been involved in it, or at least he had some constituents, I think, that were really concerned, and apparently he sort of got into the mix about the whole thing. I don't know exactly what the story is there. And a local man named Alan McLean, who is local in Dorney, which is next to Ardell, which is where Willie's vacation home was, he said he got the impression from talking to Willie that Willie was investigating the local drug smugglers and that he was onto something big. But of course, this might get back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. He was telling other people
boasting
and BSing people and stuff.
Willie seemed to have the MO of if he was investigating something, it's because he knew how to dig into documents.
Yeah.
And pull things in that regard. I don't see him sneakily walking down the street and saying, "Hey, chum."
Hey, well, if we're being really honest, though, really the way this could have and most likely did play out is that Alan McLean was talking to Willie at one point and said, "Hey, you're a representative. I'm really concerned about this." And Willie said, "Yeah, I'm looking into it."
And I'm all over
as a way that politicians talk to their constituents sometimes. It's just like,
entirely.
Yep, we'll look into that. No problem.
Yeah, in fairness to Willie, let's say that. Yeah, Willie might not have been BSing except in the standard political way. Yeah.
And just we'll look into that. Of course.
It's like absolutely, I'm all over this, and I think we're gonna really take them down hard.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly.
And then forgot about it immediately.
Exactly.
Because he went and had another scotch and whiskey.
He had to go down and meet his connection at the docks.
So who's the next suspect?
Yeah, our next suspect, the Scottish National Liberation Army, or SNL.
Every time you do that, we lose more people. You realize every time you do that accent.
Oh, sorry, Scott. Yeah, the Scottish nationalist movement, at least back in the day, included some militaristic elements, apparently. And so there was a former member of the SNLA called Adam Busby, who also appeared on TV. I think it was the same Scottish Eye TV episode that Mary appeared on and various other people did, and Michael Strathern. He said that Willie was involved with them, and said mostly in a minor way. Basically, he let them use his office. And he said Willie did get involved in one bomb plot, which was what they wanted to do was plant 2 unarmed bombs on the approach to the Coalport military base. Now, Coalport is the storage, still is today, the storage and loading facility for the UK's Trident nuclear warheads. So those are the ones that get loaded onto the boomers, the nuclear submarines that carry nuclear missiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's where they're stored. That's where they're mounted on the missiles, and presumably, I don't know if the missiles are shipped from there or loaded directly onto the subs from there. I'm not sure. But this idea was that they were going to build 2 complete bombs, real explosives and everything, but just not set the timers and leave them next to the road to be discovered.
Can I be frank?
Yeah.
This is so stupid.
What's that?
Right next to a place where you're running around with nuclear warheads. I understand they're not going to set them off, but you're going to drop 2 live bombs just to send a message. It's a very foolhardy plan, and I don't see how Willie would have expected that to forward his cause of keeping nuclear materials out of his country.
Well, the idea was that they put those things there, and whether they're discovered on their own or they have to phone it in and tell people, hey, the bombs are here, go find them. The idea was they could say, look, this was super easy for us to do. Now, how tough would it be for a terrorist to bomb your own convoy, load it down with nuclear weapons, and cause a huge accident, or maybe gain possession of nuclear warheads, etc.? That was the idea behind it.
There seems like much better ways to go about that.
Man, this is, and I don't even know if...
Yeah, this just seems so irrational that it bugs me.
Well, no, I don't doubt this guy's word, but it may be that Willie came up with the idea, they chewed it over and decided not to do it. He didn't say they actually went through with it.
When I listened to him, I foolishly did not take the time to verify if this happened, but I just presumed that they actually went forward with this plan. And I mean, that's my fault for buying into it.
But regardless of that, what would have been the benefit of killing Willie?
Well, that's the problem. It's like, as far as I know, he had a good relationship with these guys, unless they had some reason to think that he was a snitch. And even then, I'm not sure that they would have killed him, because these guys, the SNLA guys, were somewhat more violent and militaristic than your standard Scottish Nationalist Party or Scottish National Party member was, obviously. Mm-hmm. They didn't strike me as incredibly bloodthirsty, really.
Okay.
And so I'm not so sure they would have killed Willie, which is why I kind of doubt this whole idea that anybody in the SNLA would have done it. But Willie's involvement with the SNLA, if that came to somebody else's attention, like for example, Special Branch, and of course there's been hints that from some of the people out there that maybe Special Branch had a hand in all this.
Can you tell people who don't know what Special Branch is?
Special Branch is kind of like, I don't know, they're the British version of FBI.
Okay.
I guess they're
they have very, very clear names.
Yeah.
Like we use acronyms.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Every time I'm like, why don't you just? Oh no, let's just give it some unobtrusive. Okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they think Special Branch might have
Special Branch may have done it. Apparently, their friends of Willie said that he was violent. So of course, again, this could be Willie exaggerating a little bit too. But on the other hand, if he was involved with these nationalist separatist types, it's not really totally out there to say that they would have kept kind of an eye on him, really. There was an SNLA member named David Dinsmore who said that he was leaving Willie's office one time and he saw a car that looked like this Special Branch car, type of car that they liked. There were 2 men in it who were basically watching him. He got the license number, and after that, not long after that, he saw another Special Branch looking car, got that license number. And then when he went on Scottish Eye, that show I talked about, gave the numbers to them. They traced the numbers and found that they were indeed Special Branch cars. So, looks like maybe they were keeping an eye on either Willie or maybe just David Dinsmore. I'm not sure who they were keeping an eye on.
Yeah, it's true.
It sounds like these guys are like not very good at their jobs, or they just weren't even trying to be subtle.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's much more effective than hiding and saying, maybe they'll know. No, I'm just gonna walk up to your office and stand outside the door.
Just gonna let you know that we've got our eye on you, dude. Because and so and also, Willie told Dinsmore that he'd been followed by a car to his cottage in Ardell's when he was driving up one weekend. He took down the license number and gave it to Dinsmore. Dinsmore gave it to Scottish Eye. They traced that one. That too was a former Special Branch car. But again, that's even more so. I'd say they weren't trying to be subtle or sneaky at all. If you're trying to sneakily follow them all the way to Ardell, a 3-4 hour drive, you're going to use several cars, not one car. They used one car, so I think they were just sending Willie a message.
Well, they may have been sending Willie a message, or remember, Willie had a tendency to drink too much, and as we all know, when you get booze in, your memory gets a little crappy, and they may have said, hey, Willie, we're going to assign a detail to you for the weekend, so that Willie is driving, drinking his customary bottle of whiskey on the trip up, getting more and more paranoid. And why the hell is this car following me? Oh my God! When they're like, dude, we told you we were gonna follow you. Like you said yes. I mean, that's not outside the realm of possibility. If he was so sloshed half the time that his own firm booted him out from practice. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah, or maybe I'm not sure why they would call him up and say, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna be following you this weekend."
Well, there was this weird bomb plot at the nuclear facility, and somebody said that they were gonna get you too. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of ways that could have gone.
I suppose, but yeah, whatever the reason, it looks like they might have had their eye on him, but it's hard to say. I mean, there were some other people who said that they were kind of involved in the following of Willie, but it's hard to say that proves much about anybody wanting to murder Willie.
Well, so here's one thing we haven't talked about with this theory yet.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about who, but we haven't talked about like how.
How they killed him?
Yeah, like how would the murder have gone down?
Well,
we're talking a lot about murder, but
that's the tricky part. Is you got to figure out a way to run him off the road, I guess, and then you got to get his gun away from him and shoot him in the head with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is the tricky part. This is one of the reasons that one of the things, if you think that he was murdered, the thing that really bugs me the most is the bottle of booze was not in the car. The bottle of booze should have been in the car. Because
maybe it was a really nice bottle and the murderer took it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
that's when you run to the liquor store.
I want this.
That's when you run to the liquor store and you got some crap and you bring it back and put it in the car. But
you pour it all over the car.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to murder somebody in a car wreck kind of scenario, I would want, and assuming the guy was already a drinker and everything right like that, I'd want to have an empty bottle of whiskey or even an empty bottle of whiskey right there in the car with him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
It would very quickly lead suspicion to that being the culprit. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. And so, but the bottle wasn't found in the car, and I assume they searched all around.
So the murder theory really is missing a trigger man.
Yeah. I mean, so somebody could have shot him, but again, where's the bottle? I mean,
well,
of course, I suppose if Willie had done like we were talking about and flung the bottle out the window on the ride, and the killer didn't think to bring a bottle, then maybe that would explain it. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think there's no. It's important to talk about not
only
like
big problems.
But yeah, like how that would have even happened logistically.
It's hard because
seems like it's not. There's no good logistics there either.
Well, Dr. Messers said, and obviously the whole thing. If you run them off the road, again, it doesn't look to me like a really solid forensic job was done in the car.
I
didn't. Looking at if you run somebody off the road, generally speaking, you're probably going to leave some dings on the side of their car.
Though if his car really did roll.
Yeah.
That might have covered up some damage.
Could have, yeah.
But you got lucky then, right?
But
his car rolled.
But then you got to stop, walk down there, and take the gun away from him and shoot him. And Dr. Messer, by the way, did say that she saw no other wounds or marks on his body other than the wound on the right side of his head.
That they just assumed was from.
That they assumed was a contusion.
And his car was 60 feet off the road?
90 feet off the road.
90 feet?
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty big distance for a car to roll and then roll to a stop off of the road. It would have to be at some pretty high speeds to make that distance.
Yeah. It was downhill somewhat.
Well, I was going to say, but if you look at the train, it would be very easy for it to hit some kind of obstacle and lose almost all of its momentum and come to a stop very quickly.
And his car was damaged enough that it looked like it had. Because I guess nobody witnessed it, so we don't really know if it did actually roll.
Actually, if it did roll, I think I've seen a photo of the wreck.
I've seen that same photo.
And I got to say that the Volvo held up very well. I think Volvo, the car company, should get a copy of that picture and use it in their next ad.
Listen, Volvo
Because, I mean,
for
it really-
many decades has been all about our cars are solid and safe.
Yeah, I gotta say.
Detroit for years was making ticking time bombs that would just rip you apart and light you on fire.
Yeah.
And Volvo was like, "Yeah, no, our thing is you'll be safe. You won't die with us."
Yeah, and so
I'm not surprised that the car, while the exterior was beat up,
like the hood was bent, the headlights
well, no,
were
it looked like the frame was bent a little bit.
Yeah, but
one way
typically,
or another.
A lot of other cars you see them after they've rolled, the roof itself looks a little cockeyed, like it's been pushed, pushed to one side of the other. And the Volvo, it was all straight. That's what made me wonder. I had to go back and check to make sure it actually had rolled, because I really wasn't sure. And,
okay, so it did roll.
But
again,
it did apparently roll at least
seems,
once.
It seems like the logistics of a murder are just really tough. Non-existent even.
Yeah, it would be very tough to do that, I think. There's just, as far as the murder thing goes, it's like Devin was just saying, the logistics seem kind of difficult. And frankly, the motive is not really there. The nuclear power industry, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think saw Willie as a huge threat. I mean, Willie wasn't a huge threat. If they really wanted to get what they wanted, they would have gotten it with or without him.
He was a burn and saddle blanket, and that was it.
I was going to say, even if he was a huge threat, it's easier to just be like, listen, he's an alcoholic. Like, he's not credible.
Discredit the guy.
Discredit him instead of murder him. Like,
it actually would have been better from their point of view to get him wasted and arrange for him to run off the road as he did and just totally, and this is his third driving offense drunk, and just arrange for the police to show up and arrest him. Mm-hmm. That would have been totally discredited. That would have been a lot better. If you're going to plan this whole thing out, do that. Yeah. That would make more sense. And
right, but again, then there's all the people that are involved in it, that none of which talked, which we've talked about this before. These giant conspiracies require many people to coordinate, and yet none of them uttered a word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that too. And so that, that really makes me think that this really was truly a suicide, because, again, I just can't quite see the murder as happening. Nobody, I don't think, had that great of a motive to kill the guy.
Yeah.
And even though he doesn't strike me as a suicidal guy either, I didn't know him that well.
I will look. I have to. I'm not fully committed to the suicide theory, but there are things that I can see, like the not being immediately incapacitated by the gunshot wound and in an altered state, disposing of the weapon because you're kind of in that half dreamland.
Or like I said,
but at the same time,
it just fell out of his hand into the burn.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he didn't chuck it. Maybe he was 60 feet away from the car, or whatever it was, when he shot himself.
When they put the car back, he was 60 feet away.
And they wandered back to the car in kind of is it a fugue? Not a fugue
state.
Fugue state.
Works.
Something, some altered state. But,
or they put the car back in the wrong place, and it actually did fall straight from his hand out the driver's side window right into the burn, and David Coots just didn't see it.
I know, but I am not so prideful that if I completely screw the pooch, I would want to end it all to get out of the embarrassment. Mm-hmm. So I have a difficulty with the theory of Willie got his third drunk driving and was like, nope, not doing it. I'm out, y'all.
Ending it all.
Yeah.
Well,
but that's me.
Obviously, there would have to have been other reasons. That could have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Like I said, if Willie really wanted to go on living, but he's facing a lot of trouble over this, you can go hide in the bushes, dude. I mean, look at Ted Kennedy. He set a sterling example. Just follow that example.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that where you're getting the hide in the bushes theory from?
No, I got that from my own past.
Oh, weird.
No, just kidding. But all right, so I'm gonna go with suicide.
All right.
Yeah. You guys have any thoughts here?
I think
I
think we worked it over.
All right. So Scotland. I think you can put this one to bed. Okay. All right. And speaking of Scottish people, if y'all would like to send us a congratulatory email
for solving this one for you,
yeah, or get really angry with us, or argue with us, whatever, send us an email. That's at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. We also have a website, thinkingsidewayspodcast.com, where you'll find our episodes. also an episode list over on the right. We have merch out there. We've also got links to our Instagram and our Facebook and our Twitter account too.
Twitter and Reddit, yeah.
Yeah, Reddit, that's right. Yeah, we got Reddit.
We're on all of the social medias.
Yeah, we are totally social media. We're on Facebook, of course, where we have a page and we have a group. So like our page, join the group. You got to answer 2 questions. They're easy.
Yep.
It's just to prove that you're not a robot. Streaming, we're all over the place.